Hello and welcome back, Ace English Language. We've been reading this article, this magazine article, What Happened When Walmart Left. We just finished reading the first part of it, and we've been filling in this graphic organizer. So we filled in the top part of the graphic organizer so far. So now let's continue. Looking at the structure of a magazine article. So we've talked about the human connection at the beginning. Now we're exploring side A. So in the article about Walmart, you've got to figure that there's going to be two sides. What are they? Yeah, I agree. It's going to be the side of Walmart, the corporation that left, and the side of the people of McDowell County, West Virginia, who were left behind. So the first thing you're going to have to figure out is what side we're looking at in the first part of the article. And you're going to have to look for the human connection, expert testimony, and facts and data that are used to present that company's side. Remember, with a magazine article, there's an angle. So the article takes on a very specific perspective. The sides don't necessarily have to be 100% balanced. So now we're going to pop back to the article and we're going to go down to where we left off. There's the boarded up Walmart. And now remember, the part that we are completing is this section right here of the graphic organizer. We've got to figure out what side we're dealing with and what information is provided to develop that side. Much has been written about what happens when the corporate giant opens in an area, with numerous studies recording how it sucks the energy out of a locality, overpowering the competition through sheer scale and forcing the closure of mom and pop stores for up to 20 miles around. A more pressing and much less well understood question is, what are the consequences when Walmart screeches in reverse, when it up and quits, leaving behind a trail of lost jobs and broken promises? The subject is gathering increasing urgency as the mega corporation rethinks its business strategy. Rural areas like McDowell County, where Walmart focused its expansion plans in the 1990s, are experiencing accelerating depopulation that is putting a strain on the firm's boundless ambitions. I notice we're talking about the mega corporation and its business strategy and why it left areas like McDowell County. So, as you complete the graphic organizer, what aspect or what side do we seem to be focused on here? Seems to me like it's Walmart's side, right? So now we're looking for how that side is developed. Hit hard by the long-term decline in coal mining that is a mainstay of the area, McDowell County has seen a devastating and sustained erosion of its people, from almost 100,000 in 1950 when coal was king to about 18,000 today. That depleted population is today scattered widely across small towns and in mountain hollers, accentuating the sense of sparseness and emptiness. Ooh, look what I have here. I have some numbers or some facts and data. What are they about? Yep, they're about the population decline in McDowell County. Walmart Supercenter is located about 5 miles from the county seat Welch, which still boasts imposing brick buildings as a memory of better times. But the glow of Cole's legacy has cooled as the boarding up of many of the town's shops and restaurants attests. When you combine the county's economic malaise with Walmart's increasingly ferocious battle against Amazon for dominance over online retailing, you can see why outsized physical presence could seem surplus to requirements. There has been a wave of closings across the U.S., most acutely in small towns and rural communities that have had heavy population loss, said Michael Hicks, an economics professor at Ball State University, who is an authority on Walmart's local impact. Well, look who we just heard from. Michael Hicks. Does he seem to be human connection? Or expert testimony? He's an economics professor. He's an authority on Walmart's local impact. He seems like expert testimony, doesn't he? Add that to your graphic. On 15 July 2016, these winds of change swept across the country with a fury. Walmart announced that it was closing 269 stores worldwide, 150 of them in the U.S. Of those, 14 were supercenters, the gargantuan big boxes that had become the familiar face of the company since it first opened in Missouri in 1988. One of those supercenters was in McDowell County. All right, I got some data here, don't I, about how many stores were closed. So you should have been able to successfully fill in this part of the chart. Now we're going to bounce. We need to bounce to the other side. If this part here was about Walmart, then the other side would have to be about the people of McDowell County. So as we read, look for the specific aspect that this is focused on. What is this part focused on in how the loss of Walmart impacted the people of McDowell County? That's McDowell County, folks. Look at all the abandoned houses. You see the population decline there. All right, so now we're in the next section. It was a big thing for people around here when Walmart pulled out. People didn't know what to do. Young people started leaving because there's nothing for them. It's like we're existing but not existing. The words are spoken by Henrietta Banks, 60, who lives just up the hill from the mothballed supercenter. We're sitting in her front room where she spends much of her time in a hospital bed that has been set up for her as she is treated for congenital heart disease. She remembers the excitement when the supercenter opened. People welcomed it with open arms. We needed the job, she said. But in the end, the expectation that Walmart would usher in a new, better era for McDowell County proved illusory. Her late husband, Arthur, a former sharpshooter in the U.S. Army who died in 2010, worked as a greeter at Walmart for a few years. He took the job largely in the hope of securing health care for Henrietta. But was told that coverage wasn't part of the package and the couple had to make do with Medicaid. Their daughter Nicole is sitting beside her mother holding her hand. She works as a corrections officer in a nearby prison, but her dream is to become a therapist. Given her mother's health issues, Nicole Banks tries to compensate for Walmart's departure by seeking out fresh fruit and vegetables in the surrounding area. But it's not easy. The nearest replacement store, Goodson's, is too expensive, she says, and other Walmarts are an hour's drive away along Appalachian roads that are as tightly coiled as the copperhead snakes that live in the local forest. Ooh, look at that simile. That is a great example of a simile being used in a place where you wouldn't expect a simile, like in a magazine article, but it enhances and provides local color. Keep reading. Already, she spends half of her $1,200 post tax monthly salary on car insurance and repayments, and gas for the long drive for groceries eats up the little that is left. So she and her mom grab food where they can, opting for less pricey meals of hamburgers or spaghetti rather than fresh salad that takes another big chunk of their income. So remember, you're working here in the chart. This is definitely focused on the people of McDowell County. Who is the human connection? And what particular aspect of the loss of Walmart is being focused on here? Well, as I go back into the article, I notice Nicole Banks and Henrietta Banks seem to be focused on. I also notice that they seem to be talking about fresh fruit and vegetables that are lacking now that Walmart has left. Fill that in. There's Nicole and Henrietta. It's not great for her mother's health, but then Nicole thinks that's typical for McDowell County since Walmart left town. She notices that processed foods seem popular again. There are long lines at the local McDonald's. There's a lot of people getting sick since the store closed because they're not getting the right diet. It's sad to me, but bad food is cheap. Nicole Banks is the first person in her family to go to college. With a degree in sociology, how would she sum up the impact of Walmart leaving? She pauses to think for a while, and when she replies, she does so with unexpected vehemence. It's ridiculous, she says. People around here can't get health care. They can't get jobs, and now the good food has gone. We are not getting our basic needs met. People are dying young. Banks is not exaggerating. Of the 3,142 counties in the U.S., McDowell County comes in number 3,142 in terms of life expectancy. For men, that's 64, a statistic that, as Bernie Sanders likes to point out, is the same for men in Namibia. Look what we have here, some facts and data. Clearly, such endemic health problems cannot be laid exclusively at the door of Walmart. But for Sabrina Schrader, a community organizer who was born and bred in the area, it provides the context for understanding the effect of the corporation's decision and that of the controlling family to pack its bags and quit. The Walmart family are billionaires, she said. Also, no exaggeration, their collective worth is put at 150 billion. They developed a system that just made us worse off, and then they took even that away from us. So now you're looking at Sabrina Schrader. She's a community organizer. What does that make her? Some expert testimony. Okay, at this point, with the human connection of Nicole and Henrietta Banks, with the facts and data that we were provided with, and with that expert testimony, you should be able to fill in this space. Move on to this part. I'm going to leave this part for you to read and fill out, but I will tell you that it's Walmart's side. You have to figure out what aspect of Walmart's side they're talking about, and then look for there's human connection and expert testimony and facts and data. So let's go back to the article. You're going to read from here. McDowell County forms part of the largest mixed mesophyte forest in the world. This is a great paragraph of imagery of the area, but then it gets back into Walmart. What's the aspect that they're focused on? And you're going to read through to here when we have the comment from the Walmart spokesperson. Pause the video and do that now, please. I noticed that they were pretty focused on one aspect here of the what Walmart brought to the community. I also noticed that there's some facts and data here about how many people were employed. I noticed that we have the publisher of the local newspaper talking. Who would she be? And then I noticed that we go back to Wanda Church from the very beginning. Is she human connection? And I also noticed that they talked to Jesse Swims. You can figure out which he is, human connection, expert testimony, or facts and data. I noticed that we have some information about tax revenue that Walmart brought in. And I also noticed that we have a statement from a spokesperson from Walmart. So all things that should be included on your chart. Now that you filled in this part of the chart, it's time to go to the other side, which is the side of the people of McDowell County. And I'm just going to tell you this one. They seem to be dealing with Walmart as a social hub. So in this part of the world, we don't go to Walmart to socialize, but there's a whole lot of information about how people socialize. So you're going to find that human connection and perhaps expert testimony and facts and data in the article. Let's take a look. I'm going to read from Economic Losses Are Only Part of the Hurt. And you're going to find Wanda Church in there. You're going to find Daryl Williams in there. You're going to write about what they discuss. You're going to find Dan Phillips in there. And that's pretty much it for that section. So read that section from economic losses down to the picture of the lady with the baby and fill in your chart. So to recap, we've looked at Walmart's side. We started off with Wanda Church's story. We've looked at Walmart's side here and why they closed. We've looked at the side of the people and how they're not getting proper nutrition. We've looked at, again, the side of Walmart here and jobs and economic, the tax revenue. And then we looked here at Walmart as a social hub and how that affected the people. Finally, we got to finish this thing by closing the story full circle. So here we are. There are some rays of hope piercing through the dense ancient forest of McDowell County. Some families are trying to avoid the long drive to alternative outlets with the heavy prices by growing their own food. Seems to me that they're trying to leave us with a sense of hope. This has been a pretty downtrodden article so far. It's had a pretty hopeless mood tone to it. So now it seems like they're trying to leave with some hope. And of course, the hope comes from people adapting to the loss of Walmart and growing food on their own. So take a look at the rest of the article and the information that's provided there about the people and how they're adapting. Fill that out on your chart right here at the bottom. Human connection. You start with human connection and end with human connection. And then you're going to turn in the article. You're going to turn in this chart. And next week on April 11th or April 14th, excuse me, you're going to write a magazine article on your own. All right, have a good day.